So I'm Ghislain Dubois, the head of the climate change team here at Ramboll, and I will present you now the main features of the mountain tourism component of this sectoral information system on tourism. Like PROSNOW, it's a project we developed and implemented hand in hand with Météo France. That's why you see a lot of Météo France colleague names on this presentation. In short, the way we work with Météo France is that Ramboll starts from the user demand, user expectations, and the idea for service design, and Météo France starts, and roughly speaking, more from the science and modeling. And joining forces, this is the illustration of the nice teams that you need to create to develop hopefully successful climate services. Having people more from the socioeconomics and people more from the climate science, I would say. So this is just to follow up with Chiara's slide. These mountain tourism indicators are one of several services developed in the sectoral information system on European tourism. And it tries to answer, for maybe 20 or 30 years, as Samuel has shown in his introduction, we have been hearing that there will be less snow in the mountains. But what decision makers need to know is not, what they need to know is where and when it will occur, and with which degree of probability. That's the kind of information, especially the probability, that they need to have to take decisions in an uncertain environment. And the idea of this project was to mobilize the best data sets available to date to answers to this question, to these decision makers' questions. The state of the art that was until then, there were mainly some local scale studies introducing all or only part of the different snow components, natural managed snow and technical snowmaking. There was one pan-European survey, but much more limited in space, in resolution, and which was only covering natural snow, which, as Samuel highlighted, is insufficient to answer decision makers' needs, because as IPCC stated, increasingly that's really technical snowmaking which makes the decision. So the TOR for this component, part of the sectoral information system, was to have a pan-European data sets and service apps to allow large-scale sectoral assessments, what will be the profitability and feasibility of ski in the long run in Europe in general, to allow for a comparison between local markets. For example, will the Alps lose competitiveness compared to the Scandics? For decision making, new investment, design of new resorts, reshuffling, renewal of ancient ones. Should they close the ski lifts? Should they diversify the supply, depending on the case? And including natural snow, of course, but also technical snowmaking and the snow management, like grooming, like snow operations on the piste, which indeed require some more sophisticated design. This is also to say that Copernicus not only provides services and nice interface and apps, it also provides brand new data sets, some really advanced data sets. And it was particularly the case here, where we started from very recent data sets available, especially the 5.5 kilometer reanalysis URA, which was made available by Copernicus. And also the Eurocordex regional climate modeling datasets at 12 kilometer resolutions with new and recent bias correction method coming from recent research projects. And all this climate data was coupled with snowpack models. So it was not only about snow falling from the sky, it was also about snow on the ground and the evolution of different layers of snow to have the real, as far as possible, the closest to the reality, real snow on the ground. So based on these very nice data sets, we started from NUTS3 region. It's not a research or a survey resort by resort, but we selected NUTS3 level of a French department or similar in Europe. We defined mountain layers, and we selected the point of URA analysis which were at different altitude range, so more than 6,000 points. Then we downloaded some regional climate projection for different RCP, 9 pairs, 9 different models experience, and we defined a list of indicators which was sensitive for decision makers, and we computed aggregated indices. So there was a huge work of data production for this project, very structured and very rigorous, which I would say never been achieved before, which really makes the novelty and hopefully the usability for further decision making. So you can see here some results. If I take from the historical period, the evolution of observations and the reanalysis with a number of days with more than 30 centimeters of snow at 1,500 meters of elevation in Austria. And then if you add the modeled data for RCP with low emissions, with a low level of greenhouse gas emissions, so the snow changed downwards, but not that much. Then if you add RCP 4.5, which with higher global greenhouse gas emissions, and RCP 8.5 with far stronger greenhouse gas emissions, and then if you compare the band of reference of the horizons we chose, you can see little by little how the snowpack is at 1,500 meter elevation is diminishing in Austria. So then you can elaborate that sort of diagrams for, here it is for French region, so at higher resolution, which is the number of days at Christmas with more than 30 centimeters on the ground, only for natural snowfall. You can see that the red curves, when you go in a longer time horizons, even at 2,500 meters, you have far less snow on the ground, less number with reliable snow cover, so even at very high altitude. Yes, and then when you introduce managed snow, the results are different. I won't comment on this, it's just to show you the kind of visualization that can be produced. Another type of visualization is maps. Maps that can be zoomed on a country or on a region. If you want to compare markets, as we were saying, you have the number of days again with reliable snow cover only for natural snow, which is the present situation. Scandics are much more snowy than Southern Europe, for example. And you can now see, once you have modeled this with the data set I've presented you and with snowpack models, the change in number of days for 2020 to 2040, for 2040 to 2060, and at the end of the century, you can see there will be dramatic changes. Here it's only at 800 meters of altitude, but we have all altitude layers, so until minus 180 to 100 days of reliable snow cover in the Scandic. And so this is the kind of results, the kind of maps the apps can produce. Here, if we introduce managed snow, the results are of course different. And the same, you can focus on the potential for snow production, not snowfalls, but only the potential of snow production, mainly based on wet bulb temperature and capacity to produce with cannon and lens. So the amount kilogram per meter that can be per square meter that can be produced. The potential now and in the future, again with a very sharp decrease, but here with potentially some also some changes in different directions. So it really helps if you are a ski resort manager, if you are a constructor of snow guns and snow cannons. to design where you will be more useful, to maybe to design your future production, etc., or to adapt your technical equipment. And then, based on these pan-European datasets, what this contract offered by Copernicus offered was also to propose case studies where these European datasets were given to a more local team, one of our experts associated with some local stakeholder. Here, for example, in Turkey, there was the idea to design a new ski resort and to see what was the potential. And together with a consultancy called ATC, we did some 3D representation of the ski resorts, and we compared on a much more accurate resolution the temperatures, the snow reliability indicators depending on period, and so the feasibility finally to design and to extend this ski resort. So, and this is also an illustration that Copernicus allow that kind of downstream services. So any service operator can download data, build his own application either online or using his own tools, and then propose something else, something more adapted to his local or sectoral needs. We also had some case studies in Andorra on the left and in Switzerland on the right. For example, this is on the right in Switzerland, in Valais, to illustrate the relative change in early season snowmaking, which is something very important for snowmakers, the possibility to make to produce an initial snow cover, so as the natural snowfall stay better on the ground, and so that finally eventually the resort can open for Christmas. So this is again a way to tailor, and on the left in Andorra you can see a representation by altitude layer, where there is a comparison of two net3 regions, Andorra versus Ariège, with a comparison of number of days with more than 30 centimeters. Again, the same indicator, but we have a lot of others for RCP 8.5 at the end of the century, and then maybe you can this way you can compare with your closest competitor, and to see if you will have an advantage or you will have a disadvantage at different time frame and time horizons and time season. So this is to illustrate a kind of case study and really tailored use, more accurate, more adapted to the end user need, and we worked hand in hand with these stakeholders during the contract, and we thank them for that. So to conclude, what Copernicus European Tourism SIS provide for mountain stakeholders, mountain and ski stakeholders, so a very new European-wide set of climate change impact indicators, addressing climate change impact on mountain tourism for different kind of water conditions, and including water requirements, because you need water to produce some snow. All this confirm and show and project some major declines in snow reliability in European mountains, which are contrasted across depending on regions and where you are, and altitude, latitude, and the type of snow management configuration that you choose to model or not to model. The data is already available on the Climate Data Store, as shown by Chiara. I don't know, it's a question of days or weeks, but its online visualization tool is already available. You saw some an extract by Chiara. It will be open for broad exploitation. Not only for scientific, it's open for everybody, be it for scientific or for consulting planning studies. And there will be, thanks to this case study, some example of best practice on how to use, and a lot of user guidance and a lot of user support will be provided in the next months if people have requests. The only limitation I want to mention is that this very new data set and app does not replace some local, even higher resolution studies, which will account for fine-scale topography. depending on the slope orientation, depending on where your resort is located in a valley. Of course, the configuration might be slightly or very different. Maybe people from Garmisch-Partenkirchen will say, yeah, but we are in a very cold valley or very cold orientation. So what you say is not exactly what we need, but it's already far beyond what was produced in the past, and we believe that it's already very useful for decision making. Thank you. Sorry for being a little bit cold.